Hello, everybody. Today we're going to talk about Layne Staley. We're going to talk about Alice in Chains. We're going to be focusing mostly on the song Rooster because I can't talk about too many different songs and stuff, or the video will become too long. We're going to talk about his vocal techniques, how he was getting his sound, how you might be able to achieve a similar sound, and things of that nature. So, everybody shut up. I'm going to sing stuff. Let's do this. And I tried so hard to heal this wound, this pain I feel. All right, when it comes to Layne Staley, and when it comes to all that kind of stuff, I remember back to when I first started putting up covers on the YouTubes, and there was people that said it was really great, and I got a lot of positive feedback, and that helped me along in my singing journey. But then there's also people that would criticize and say certain things because, they don't like you trying to sing like their person, they don't like you trying to mimic their person, et cetera, et cetera. What I'm doing here is a little bit of mimicry and kind of how this, Layne got his sound and where it kind of came from in a way. But also you're going to hear me coming through as tends to always happen in the first place as well. One of the main things that people like to bring up or liked to bring up with Layne is that I would add a little bit of this Creed with arms wide open jaw down here, because Layne did do that, and then people be like, he didn't do that. So we're also going to be listening to that. So I have a vocal only track, and we're going to be pulling that up. I'm going to be trying to sing some of these parts. I am not warmed up. I've been working today and running around doing different things, but so I'm going to do it anyway off the cuff. We're going to see if some of it works. Again, some of those things might be me embarrassing myself because it doesn't work in the first time, first try, fucking perfect. And in terms of the internet and YouTube and filters and everything, people want things to be perfect, or then they're going to be like, fuck you. So let's see how that goes. But if you are one of those people that's just ready to click off the video and move, fuck you, then fuck you too. Anyway, okay. So I pulled up a vocal only. Like I said, we're going to be focusing on Rooster with this. Now, before I get into that, there's one more thing I want to mention here that I have not talked about as a singer, as a vocal coach. It's going to be confusing for people that aren't, I guess, more advanced in this kind of stuff, but hopefully it'll continue to make some sense. Let me make sure I'm recording. Right. Hopefully it'll continue to make sense on your journey as you figure these things out. Or maybe as you know about it, you can hear some of these people and how they're doing things and notice when they're in a different gear. What do I mean by gears? Most singers in rock music that I've heard, at least of the male genre, have two gears. We're going to mention two coordinations, we'll say. One being a more regular thing that most people can do. They ain't found a way to kill me yet, right? Almost kind of like speaking voice, maybe with support, maybe better singing, vibrato, maybe not. But we have that one gear. The second gear, we have like Maynard James Keenan, we have Dave Grohl, we have Layne Staley, we have so many different singers that have two gears, we'll say. Two coordinations that they're switching between. Most singers are using that second gear to get distortion and higher notes. Some higher than others, some not so high. Metallica is another great one. James Hetfield, fantastic writer and singer. But basically two gears. A regular voice that most of us know, and then a more, this more, this kind of thing like this, which we'll refer to as more of a heavily compressed kind of coordination. I have, since I've never taken a vocal lesson and I've always had to figure all this shit out myself, I've had to find a lot of different ways to do things, and you will find shitloads of ways that you can produce sounds. So in terms of coordinations, in terms of me, I probably have 4 or 5 different coordinations that I can switch between to do certain things. Live, if one's not working or I'm a little bit tired, I can just switch right on a dime and do a different one that might help me stretch up to higher notes, etc. Some more healthy than others, etc., etc. It doesn't really matter. But in terms of this song right here and Layne, we're going to hear two gears. We're going to hear two coordinations. We're going to hear one that's mainly a chest voice, register, kind of regular thing, or possibly even falsetto and head voice, the stuff that people tend to be able to know. This kind of stuff. One gear. Then we're going to hear that heavier, more compressed one that most people are confused and that's elusive to people. But again, know that when you're practicing this stuff and when you're going down these rabbit holes, There's always something more to discover. If you've taken classical training lessons with somebody and you've been taught one way, it's bullshit, man. There's plenty of other things outside of that, and they're not all unhealthy and terrible, and you're going to lose your voice. There are things amongst that you'll be weaving in and out of musculature that should be in there, that shouldn't be in there, all these different things. But on your path forward, know that you're going to find weird stuff that you can do with your voice, and some of it's great and some of it's not. The key to most of it, and then I'll shut up and we'll finally get into this, is getting into a coordination that can go fully through your range. So even when I did a hyper compress kind of thing like this, I want to be able to take that to the top of my range and the back down. So if I can go in my regular chest or my regular speaking voice, then whatever coordination I have and extended from that, an extra coordination, I would also want to be open enough or learn how to get it to be open up that I can also go through my entire range. If you're building a wall with another coordination and you can't take it any higher, normally it's not serving you very well and it might not be the healthiest coordination. So here we go. This is Layne Staley's Just Vocal Only on Rooster. So we're starting out with falsetto. So on the bottom, we have more of a falsetto, head voice on the top, and it's a harmony. I don't know if it's both of him doing both harmonies or both parts, or if it's Jerry Cantrell on the other side. I don't know. But one would be more falsetto, which means it's more breathy, which means your vocal cords are split more apart. The other one's more head voice. Could be just out of necessity. Head voice is easier to keep connected and take higher. Ooh! Falsetto continues to break apart. The chords continue to break apart the higher you go because there's more air passing over the vocal cords. Ooh! Like this. So it's harder to keep together. Either way, pretty simple thing to do. If we put on some fucking massive reverb and some delay. Something like that. So like I said, mostly people can probably do that. If you're having trouble getting up to those notes, then you got to practice these things in terms of stretching your vocal cords. I tend to be of the mind that elasticity is more important than strength. Similar to like strength training and yoga and stuff like that, it's more important sometimes to keep the body elastic, or in this case, at least your vocal folds, elastic and stretchy. That's how we're getting up to higher notes, not strength. So let's keep going. Pretty simple there, but like I said, we don't need to cover that too much. Let's get to where he starts singing. We'll talk about his voice. Ain't found a way to kill me yet. Eyes burn with stinging sweat. Seems every path leads me to nowhere. So, as a professional, I can hear the shape of his mouth, the shape of kind of his skull. I can hear a lot of different things happening. I can also tell that similar to a Chris Cornell type of person, even probably Kurt Cobain, he's not opening his mouth very much. So he's using the natural tone and shape of his mouth and everything to his placement or to his betterment in terms of tone, where he's not going, ain't found no way. So if you're somebody that's opening a lot during a lot of this stuff, in my opinion, you're shutting down a lot of your placement. You're shutting down a lot of your natural tonality. Because if I don't do as much of that, you're going to hear more of all this shit in my head because it's going up into my head and rattling and making those sounds. So again, we hear that he's kind of got a smaller mouth. Ain't found a way to kill me yet. And he's not really moving it very much. Eyes burn with stinging sweat. I can hear in his posture that he's not like this, and I can hear like this. But again, this is not all about me and all my thoughts about all these things. I'm trying to help you to perpetuate success with some of these things too. Anyway, we're calming all that down. We're going from speaking voice and we're adding a little bit of support underneath so that we're not going, ain't found a way to kill me. We're going, ain't found a way to kill me yet. But we can hear in him a little bit. He likes to kind of pull a little bit of the vowels and the consonants and things down through the jaw a little bit and get a little bit of that, as I was mentioning, Creed kind of sound. Of course, he was not influenced. Creed came way later. But anyway, eyes burn with stinging sweat, stinging air. We hear a little bit of that. If you don't think that you do, or you're jumping right on the bandwagon, be like, nah, you're going to hear more of it as we continue here. Wife and kids and household pet. We heard a lot of it right there. Wife and kids, household pet. Army green was no safe bet. Now let's stop right there before we get into this next part. Army green, green has no jaw. Green. Green was no safe bet, so he's getting a little bit of his sound coming through right here, coming through right here, coming through. You hear a little bit of that now? So a little bit of that Layne Staley sound is coming a little bit from here. So it's almost like you're locked in this position where you're starting to extend the bottom jaw out like this. Or like you're, I don't know what that would be. There's plenty of stupid voices that come to mind, but God knows I'll offend somebody if I talk in a voice. So here, I'm going to do a little bit of this. And let's see if I can get closer to mimicking his sound. Like I said, not warmed up, but let's do some of this. And of course, I just have reverb and delay on and some compression. But yeah, we're just jumping right into this. This is a karaoke track. Ain't found a way to kill me yet. Eyes burn with stinging sweat. Seems every path leads me to nowhere. Wife and kids, household pet. Army green was no safe bet. Now the next part. The next part is the thing that's elusive to people, right? The bullet scream! So with him, his voice was higher than mine. So he was able to do some of these things a little bit easier than what you're going to hear me do, because his chest voice was a little bit higher than mine. Now, that also means some different things in terms of distortion, in terms of false chord distortion, and in terms of upper palate distortion. I will be leaning more into upper palate distortion, which means my sound will be a little bit more sandpapery, and especially not being warmed up, we're going to find out what it does. But his would be a little bit more down here, which you're going to hear as we continue to go forward with this. Now, I find that false chord distortion tends to be a little heavier on the vocal cords, meaning it tends to affect them more negatively because they're closer to the vocal cords themselves. Meaning when you continue to keep dominating that area, even with compression, it tends to heat up in a sense. If we just keep going back there, it's kind of like a muscle group. If you just keep working that same spot, after a while, it's like, it starts to get a little bit tired or heat up in terms of blood flow, heat, etc. from fucking being dominated. So anyway, everybody wants to learn distortion. Everybody's got different ways of teaching it. I've taught it so many different ways that we're going to talk about it in a different way today. We're going to talk about it in this way where people talk about picking something up. If you were to pick a weight up off the ground, you would go like this. What's happening is your throat is closing in and you're holding back breath. So you're going like this. Now, of course, that is not just the key to distortion, but you will hear a distortion, as you just heard in my voice, happening. And you hear some things kicking in that weren't obviously there because my throat's open right now. Like this. So there's some vocal distortion. Now that can come from a couple different places, a few different places. The vocal cords themselves, the false cords, and this upper palate distortion I was talking about, which is close to the soft palate, the uvula where your uvula hangs down. So, yeah, as we talk about that, what's happening when I go to pick something up is, like I said, the throat is compressing, it's closing itself off. We're, in a sense, holding back airflow, using less airflow by accident because we picked something up. The important key to that is that your throat is completely malleable like this. It's a tube with other tubes involved, and there's a lot of tubing going on. So if we think about it like a tube, it's like this. And when I go to tend to pick something up with no knowledge of what the fuck I'm doing, I might just compress and just grab a hold right where the vocal cords are, like this. So if you try to sing like that, that sucks. That's not good. The bullet's great. It's going to be too heavy. But considering and knowing that you can compress in other areas of the voice, there's other muscles and compression zones that we can grab a hold of, you can start to displace that. Now, we're going to go about this in a gross, weird way. If you had a cold and you were starting to clear your throat, say your throat was itchy, that happens to me with allergies all the time, and you have to make weird noises, and people are like, what the fuck are you doing? In this case, let's say I had drainage right here. I'm already making a distorted sound, but I'm doing it just by kind of clearing my throat. That's right here. I'm making so I'm starting to get a little bit of vocal distortion. That tends to be vocal fry distortion, right where my vocal cords are. But let's say that kind of mucus, kind of clear your throat, gross feeling is up a little bit higher. Those are your false chords. Hear the difference? One's here, one's here. Now let's do one more. I'm going to pretend that that clearing, that grossness is up around the back of my sinus drainage, back right where my soft palate is. This is how we learn to scream. This is how we learn to control airflow. This is how distortion works. We're just doing it in controlled ways and then starting to figure out how we can put sound through that. So I'm going through this stuff really fast so the video isn't freaking too long. But if we do that again and we start putting some sound through that, meaning the vocal cords will not be as affected. We're going at the bottom. If I go there's false chord right there. So that's a version of me going like that with chords underneath. Underneath. Upper palate. There's a bunch of different stuff happening there, but there was all kinds of difference like this. So again, if we take and listen to him, God damn it, I pressed the wrong video. So here. The bullets scream to me from... So let's listen to that one more time, and I want you to use your ear holes and try to tell me where his distortion is coming from. Scream to... One more time. The bullets scream to me. If you said false chords, you would be pretty much right. There's a little bit of other things happening in there, but mostly he's using that E vowel, E, and he's getting E down here. My voice again, if I was to do that, the bullet scream would be more of my zone or my chest voice range. But for me, it's higher, so I have to go a little bit higher in my distortion because it starts getting too cut off and building that wall like I talked about in the first place. So I would probably, oh, what a lucky guess. So it's an F4, which is right up against my bridge, hence why I'm saying it's a little bit too high for me to go E down here. The bullet scream! Oh! The bullet scream! That's more of an upper palate distortion for me, and I have to modify the vowel because I can't go E right on my bridge. So, again, let's keep going. From somewhere. See what you can do, by the way. E, A, E, change it to an A. A, and you can get up there. I don't know what kind of vocal only track this is because there seems to be a lot of other shit in it. Yeah, they come to snuff the rooster. So all clean right there. We have a vocal double, and then it sounds like we have a vocal double in the harmony as well, I think. Split wide in terms of stereo. Yeah.
Yeah, here come the rooster. Yeah.
So there, I think I heard some upper palate distortion and really dominating his compression, though, again, from right here. But again, lower voice than mine, so you can get away with some of that stuff. So let's try to see if I can jump into some of this shit and not completely embarrass it myself. But like I said, I'm going to be modifying these vowels because I can't go E and I can't do that stuff as much because my bridge is already, we're at my bridge. So typically, speaking of this stuff too, speaking of your chest voice bridge and stuff, about 90% of the males that I've taught over 13 years now have a bridge pretty much right where mine is, which would mainly say that that's the most common male voice. So if you find yourself struggling with this, he was not that. He had a higher voice. I actually always thought he was a smaller dude until I found out he was like 6'1" or 6'2", like me, which is super strange because he sounds like he's got a smaller voice box. He sounds like a smaller human being. Whoops, I forgot to put on verb and things and stuff. Yeah. Here we go. I'll try to do this. Was no safe bet. The bullet screamed to me from somewhere. Here they come to snuff the rooster. Yeah. All right, here comes the hard part. Yeah, here come the rooster. Yeah. And then we go really high, which we're going to talk about next. But let's listen to Layne do it. So that wasn't too bad. But hopefully some of this is making sense. Again, in terms of trying to grab a hold of these things and keep your throat open, I've made a whole bunch of videos about this. I teach more on Patreon if you want to grab a subscription over there and try to follow along with more of these videos of how to do this stuff. I have longer videos, I have extended videos, I have short videos, all kinds of different things trying to teach people how to do this kind of stuff. So
You know he ain't gonna die.
I'd imagine if he does that live over and over, it's probably difficult to do because, again, I hear his compression point being down here more.
You know he ain't gonna die.
That's a high C, which means that it sucks. It means it's pretty fucking high. So again, if you can't do it distorted, try to do it clean. You should be trying to always do these things clean and then add distortion. But in terms of getting up to there, you can siren up. Oh! But you even hear his note is just barely getting up to there. And because of the distortion and everything like that. But if I can get up to there, oh, we're gonna die. No, no, no. Now, again, listening to me like this, can you tell how my distortion isn't as heavy? It's because my throat is more forced open. I'm in more of a mixed coordination, and I'm in more of an upper palate distortion. Again, there's not necessarily a right or wrong way, and I'm never trying to say like I know better or something. I'm just trying to say in this case, I fucking can't do what he's doing as much, and his is being more dominated down here. So you can tell about hopefully by hearing some of these things. But here I'll do it again with the song, which I think I messed up some of the lyrics too. Yeah, you know I ain't gonna die. Yeah, no, no, no. You know he ain't gonna die. So the last thing I'll go over here so that I don't make this video too much longer is the vibrato thing. I have videos on vibrato. I continue to learn about these things in my journey and what it does for my voice and what helps with my voice. I have now consistently found, probably in the last 2 years with vibrato, a lot of times I found out that I was faking it, meaning that I was going, and I was moving it like that from the diaphragm, which is nice. It wasn't up here, but But now I'm finding more of a considerable, consistent, natural vibrato, because vibrato is a natural byproduct of singing open and relaxed and singing correctly. So if I was to go, that's actually happening naturally. It wants to kick in. In some ways, it's hard for me to go and make it just make straight line. But I've found that as I continue to express and utilize my diaphragm, that vibrato tends to kick in as I dip down right here above the navel. Now, it doesn't mean I'm pushing like a mofo or that I'm diving in like I'm, trying to poop in the old pants, but it does mean that I'm processing my support across this entire abdominal range. So again, above this, I don't have to push straight here and I don't have to push straight here. I can kind of keep that whole thing moving like this. And it happens right when I sit right here. So even in terms of breathing, if you watch some people that are talking about breathing exercises or breathing, rhythmic breathing, Ayurvedic, all this different kind of stuff, we can recognize that we're not just breathing up here, not just here, but you can breathe the whole way down here and you can move the airflow different parts through your body. So as you pay attention to that and become conscious of that, you can support and push the air out of your body in different ways as well. Either way, as you become conscious of it and pay very much attention to it, I noticed that my vibrato was really happening right here is the point again. Happens right about down here, and that's where it really wants to start kicking in for me. So I hope some of this helped you. Again, we're not going to go through too much of this song, but we went through the high parts, the distorted parts, whatever. In terms of the gears and the coordinations I was talking about, hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. We have a regular singing voice, and then we have this this kind of thing that's happening where we're really holding back and controlling airflow like that, but we're getting that heaviness and that distortion kind of thing that people think is louder and more intense because we're actually going and we're cutting things back. So I hope you got something out of this. Like I said, if you want to take lessons with me, things like that, Patreon, and then there's my website where you can just book lessons with me right through that, sterlingrjackson.com. Hope to see you again soon. See ya.